Good morning, friends. I hope you are all doing well. If you are new here, my name is Chelsea. Welcome to Little Mountain Ranch. I thought I would do something a little bit different today and take you through a morning at our house. So what I'm doing here is just getting our cook stove, her name is Martha, by the way, lit so that I can make breakfast for my family. My plan this morning is to make a potato hash, some scrambled eggs, and some hot chocolate for breakfast. So I'm going to show you how I do all these things and share the recipes with you as we go along. Just getting the kettle filled up for my tea this morning. Getting some bacon fried up on the cook stove. I have all my cast iron hanging right beside my cook stove, so it's really easy to grab it and put it on the stove. One of the kind of disadvantages of where we had to locate our cook stove is it's a little bit of a ways away from my kitchen, as you can see here. So I kind of have to walk back and forth a bit, but I don't mind that. The one advantage of the location of it is that it's kind of right in the middle of the main space. Our living room, dining room, and kitchen is all one room, and it warms it up beautifully on chilly winter mornings. Making a cup of tea in our brand new Little Mountain Ranch mugs, which are now available for sale, and I absolutely love them. These are all handmade, hand painted, and I just think they are just beautiful. It's functional art, in my opinion. So now I'm just frying up some ground beef, and I'm going to be flavoring that ground beef with some taco seasoning. And I'm using canned potatoes this morning because I just wasn't in the mood to peel and chop potatoes from the root cellar. So I'm just giving these a rinse off to rinse off all the extra starch, and thawing out some green peppers from our freezer that I froze from our greenhouse in the summer. Just preparing the pan, putting a little olive oil on there, and dumping the potatoes in. I just seasoned them with some garlic powder, some smoked paprika, and some sweet paprika, and a little bit of salt and pepper. Just really simple. So my ground beef was frozen, so I had to add a little water to the pan and of course scrape it off as it thaws. This is something that happens pretty commonly in my house because I never remember to take my meat out the night before. And while the food is cooking up on the stove, I went down to the office to do a little bit of computer work. I try to get most of my computer work done. And I just went onto the website to see that the mugs are now officially available. Such a great feeling. Bacon is all cooked now, so I'm just rearranging things on the stove so that I can add the bacon to our potatoes. I always like to add a little bit of the bacon grease to potatoes because it just makes them taste all that much better. Ground beef is just about ready, and I'm just going to season it with a taco seasoning mix to give it a little bit of flavor. Breaking up the bacon so it's in bite-sized pieces. If my bacon had been a little bit frozen, I probably would have chopped it up and just fried it up into smaller pieces, but I do not like cutting thawed bacon. I just don't. So I just chose to fry it all up and break it up by hand. And now I'm adding, how many cups of water did I do? I did 6 cups of water, 3/4 cup of cocoa, and 3/4 cup of honey, and this is just the base for my hot chocolate. Really simple, and a good pinch of salt. I feel like that is a key ingredient that a lot of people miss when they're making homemade hot chocolate. Just giving it a whisk and then letting it heat up on the stove. Ground beef is all ready to add to our potato hash. And normally I would add some type of cheese to my potato hash, but I actually was out of cheddar this morning. So I just decided to just add the veggies. Now a little bit of, the meat and the veggies. So now I'm just adding some green peppers. There's a mix, some yellow and some red in there as well, and giving it a little bit of mix. And then I will cover it up with some tin foil and pop it in the oven to just roast up while I'm making my scrambled eggs and getting my hot chocolate all ready. Now this is some milk, so we do have milk cows, and I'm just skimming off the cream so that we can have some whipping cream with our hot chocolate. So the cream will rise to the top usually after around 24 hours, and it's pretty easy to skim off. Now I'm adding a couple of cups of milk to my hot chocolate, giving it a taste, and it tasted delicious. Some scrambled eggs just with a little bit of milk, salt, and pepper into the fry pan. Moved everything over to the stove. Like I said, I don't have a countertop right beside where my cook stove is, so I usually have to move everything onto the stove and then scoop up from here. And a cup of hot chocolate. So delicious, and there's just the honey in there, so it's not even bad for us or anything, but tastes really delish. Putting that in my new mug, giving it a taste, and yum. Very good. Now we're gonna head outside. Hello, Nala kitty. And hello, Simon kitty. How are you? Have a nice adventure this morning? I hope you enjoyed hanging out with me in the kitchen quietly this morning. I get up before anyone else gets up in the morning and try to get a bunch of my work that I need to get done when everyone's still asleep. Excuse me. But everyone's up now, so the house is very noisy. The sun is just about to come up over the mountain, and it looks like it's going to be an absolutely beautiful day. We have very clear skies this morning. So I am just gonna go down right now and do checks on chores. I haven't really been able to, in fact, I'm gonna put this up over my mouth. I haven't really been able to be outside a ton since I had pneumonia, just because my lungs are not in great shape and the cold air really hurts them. But it is still important for me to get outside a little bit and get some fresh air, mostly for my mental health. So I am just heading out to do chore checks and just make sure all the water troughs are full and everyone's got food. Let's start with the chickens up here. Our chicken coop was built in the 1930s, and it is still just working perfectly. Please, what are you doing out here? Outdoor run here so that the chickens can get fresh air in the winter time. And then in through here, we have empty nesting boxes. Chickens on the roost. We're not getting a ton of eggs right now just because of the time of year, but they're gonna start laying. We just started getting the odd egg, so probably within about 4 weeks we'll be back into eggs again, which is fantastic. These are some of our babies. We do have 2 ducks, and if you've been here for a while, you know these guys have been here for, I think, going on 7 years now. The rest of the year, they free range outside. Okay, chickens look good, chicken water's full. Does need to be topped off with some food. Rabbits and the cows, I know the cows are taken care of because Dan and I feed those out. We use round feeders, big round feeders, and we have 2 of them, so we usually only have to feed out about every week and a half to 2 weeks or so. And then the water troughs are pretty big, and we only have to do those once a day. So this girl here is one of Thistle's babies, and from 2 years ago, and she's actually going to be having her own baby this year. And then this is Thistle's baby from last year. And this girl, even though she's going to be having her own baby, keeps trying to nurse off her mom, which is obviously not okay, especially with those horns. So she is actually going to be for sale. I'll probably list her in the next couple of weeks. And then her baby from this year, she's just being weaned. So she's up here with her sister to hang out until she is weaned. And then over here we have Miss Lexi, who injured herself quite badly just before Christmas. She cut her leg, and we don't know on what. I'm not sure if you can see down here, but she cut her leg just above her hoof, right across there, which is a really terrible spot because every time she'd flex her leg, it opened up. But what we did, are you talking to your friends out there, is we kept it wrapped and used Manuka honey. And Manuka honey is my absolute go-to. I swear by Manuka honey for treating injuries with animals, like cuts and scrapes and anything like that that affects the skin. So we packed it full of Manuka honey, wrapped it. We kept it wrapped for 4 weeks until it completely closed, and now it's completely closed. But we don't want her running out in the field or with the other horses until we're sure it's not going to open back up again when she flexes her leg. But so far, it's looking absolutely fantastic. I could not be happier. And I'm really glad because we got Lexi this past summer for our girls, and she is the most wonderful, gentle, just a fantastic horse we have ever had. So I'm really happy that she's on the mend. Her feeder is nice and full over there, and so is her water. So that's good. And then in the barn, we have our bunny cage here. So this is a rabbit tractor, and it actually goes outside in the summertime, and we can move it around onto fresh grass. But in the winter, we bring them in here just so they have a little bit of added protection from the weather. Rabbits are actually a lot more at risk in the summer from overheating. You've probably seen, if you've watched any homestead channels or anything like that that have rabbits, is sometimes they'll fill up a bottle of water and freeze it and then put that into the rabbit cage in the summer to help the rabbits stay cool. They actually thrive much more in the cold weather in the wintertime than they do in the summer, but we still bring them in here because this protects them from the wind. Our barn was also built in the 1930s, and you can see that it has clay chinking. So it's a log barn with clay chinking. And then in the 80s, a loft was added to the top, and that's where we store tons of stuff. Anything that doesn't have another place to go goes up there. But we haven't really done anything with the barn since we bought the place, and it really needs some just, I don't know, a little bit of care. So that's our plan for the next little bit. The horses and the cows down there actually look like they're probably due for another couple bales of hay. So we might get to that later. We'll go check in with Dan and see what he is up to this morning. I do not see a Dan in here. I just heard the truck start up, so I'm not sure where he went. We'll have to go find him. The sun is just about to come up over there. Oh, it's gonna be a gorgeous day. So normally I would take the quad up the mountain. I want to take care of these little baby delicate lungs of mine because when gardening season comes, I do not want to be having issues with my endurance and all of that. So we're gonna drive the Jeep up there and see where he is. I have a suspicion that he's up by one of our upper meadows where we found a spring, and kind of just looking and seeing what he wants to do up there as far as developing the land. Sun is fully up now. What a gorgeous day we're gonna have today. there's what's left of a couple of our big slash piles. So these have actually been burning for a couple weeks now, so just about done. And then Dad's going to clear this whole area and make some awesome meadow. So one of the cool things about having a property on a mountain like we have is 160 acres, relatively speaking, when it comes to ranches, is really small. The neighboring ranch has over 2,000, just to kind of put that in perspective. But when it is on a mountain like this, it seems so much bigger than if it were just a big flat piece of land. Dan has built all these roads that I'm currently driving on all over our property, so it makes it feel even bigger because the roads kind of zigzag like this up the mountain. Really awesome for dirt biking and quadding and horseback riding and all that kind of stuff, and just to be able to get around the property. It's so great. And as you can see, we've left a ton of forested area all over the property. So we've basically cleared all the flat areas to make pasture land and hayland, but all of the really mountainous parts we've left. So there's these forested buffers, and it's so interesting. Since we cleared all these spaces, we have so many deer living on the property, whereas we really didn't before. So it's just really cool that opening it up the way that we have created more wildlife space for the deer and the moose, which is really neat. So I just do not see my husband anywhere. But hang on, I just got a text. That text was not from Dan, but it was from my assistant, who just messaged saying that the pre-sale website for our mugs is now officially live, which is so fantastic. So if you would like to grab one of those beautiful Little Mountain Ranch mugs, you can hop over to our website and get yourself one. They are just absolutely fantastic, and each one of them is handmade, so they'll all be slightly unique. And they're just really, really beautiful. So, but the mystery of where Dan is continues, because he's not on either level of the property. So I have no idea where he is. Let's continue on the hunt for Dan. So where we are right now is that first field that we cleared, and then up back over that way is where the spring is that we found this past summer. So Dan will be turning this into a hayfield, and we want to put, we'll be fencing all of this, of course, and then putting a gate with an arch right over here, because we have a dream of one day building our retirement cabin right up over there by the spring, and then having this beautiful view to look out on. And then turning the main house into like a lodge retreat place for people to be able to come out and stay here. That's kind of our long-term retirement goal for the property. Gosh, what a gorgeous day. Wow. This new road that we put in here is one of my favorite new areas of the property, because it goes down here and then it passes by the trailer and the bunkie there, our little cabin. I just think it looks so pretty. So it looks like Dan and I missed each other, because there's this truck right there, and I can hear bulldozers running, which means he's already down in the bulldozer. Yep. I was telling everybody over on Instagram the other day that I have never seen my husband so happy since he got all this equipment and he's able to do all of these things on the property that he has been dreaming about doing for the last nearly 10 years. Dan has always been super supportive of my dream to have a homestead, and he's worked really hard to help me achieve this. But I wouldn't say that homesteading and ranching has always been something that was his kind of dream. However, when he was a little boy, his dream was to be what he called back then a ditch digger. And because he loved big equipment. And we were just saying the other day that he's living out his dream now of all the big equipment and being able to create this dream that he's had in his mind for this property with all this big equipment. So he said the other day to me that he thinks he might be a rancher after all because he's just having so much fun. He has made so much progress out here since, I think it was only about 4 days ago we were out here together, and I was showing you what he was doing. Yeah, that's what I said. I thought you were probably doing. So we did just miss each other on the roads because it kind of, I went up to the top and then he must have come out from the second bench just as I went down. That's what I figured happened. Hun, you have done so much work out here. I can't believe it.
I'm hoping to be like brush mowed all by tomorrow.
Still bumpy.
But it's had the least amount of work, but it's not a big spot. It's just like a pie-shaped kind of section.
Yeah.
Everything else is pretty flat. Over.
Yeah.
In here, like it needs to be tidied up, but it's
pretty flat.
It's pretty flat.
It looks. I couldn't even walk through here before.
Because I've tilled this and brush mowed this before.
Yeah.
It was already pretty flat.
So the plan, so you're just gonna go over it with the bulldozer now, and then take the brush mower out,
yes.
And like we're just mow down all these willows and stuff.
Some of the stuff that just bends over, it doesn't like, break it off.
Right. Well, you must be so excited.
I am super excited. So when we were looking at buying this place, the older gentleman that was selling it, this meadow we walked, and he told me flat out, he's like, you can't hay this meadow, you'll never,
never be able to.
You'll never be able to, it's too wet, like it's too swampy. And then he told me a story about some government funded project that involved a university, as far as I remember. Then they were trying to put together like an instructional on how to deal with like sort of swampy areas, because it's common in the area we live in.
Yeah.
And so he said they came out here, he offered them this chunk of land to try and deal with, and they came out here and worked on it for quite a while. And I guess the college kids or whatever made like a special, like a V-shaped plow blade that was supposed to kind of go in between the hummocks, like the lumps, and cut the tops off and push them into the low spots, is how I sort of understood what he was saying.
And it didn't work?
It didn't work. He just said they tried. He said they tried for a couple of weeks, and he just kept having to come in here and tow them out like their bulldozer.
Yeah.
Because they just kept getting stuck, and then they gave up eventually.
I'll show you guys the pictures that were from the article that Dan found when he actually found the article that was written, or the book that was written about trying to do this particular meadow. So I'll show you some pictures from it.
But that being said, like all the area around it, behind it, and to the side of it, it's all hayed by the neighbors. Hay this chunk and we hay that chunk. Right. So it has to be done. Or it can be done in the fall. Or when was that? Late summer? Yeah. Yeah, we put about a half kilometer of ditch in. You can see the piles of dirt, so that's the dirt that Dan took out from where the ditch is. I'll show you that in a second. And so that's going to help drain it. And we're going to put a pond at possibly both ends, but definitely at one end. Yeah. Because it drains that way. Mm-hmm. The like water's kind of coming down over this way. Oh, look at that. Okay, so look at this, friends. So this is the ditch here, and this is where it ends, and it's coming. It ended up there, but it's kind of like out over here. So, but this is higher. You can see it from where we're standing. So you can see the water's actually running there, and then oh yeah, I bet you that was the ditch from our spring that they put in back in the 30s. Maybe. Down there. I'll bet you. So what were you saying? Oh, I'm just. Like things I'm not sure about that you can throw input in on, as I'm just not sure if we should like fence around this marsh and keep the cows off it. I think that's probably a good idea. I mean, there's nothing in there for them anyway, but also it would protect this area for the wildlife. It's kind of a natural circle, so you could run just the fence around.
around like that.
Yeah.
Right up to where the new fence, like the property line's right there, and they're gonna put the new fence right there. So
right.
you could just come off of it and come around and go up to here. And
I think that.
Just leave this space for the wildlife.
I love that idea. And then I just can't believe how flat you have this in here. Oh, hun, look at all the frost on the willows over there. So beautiful. It is just, what a gorgeous day, hey? Everything's sparkling.
The next challenge is I have to figure out how to get rid of all this dirt from the ditch I made because I want to fence both sides of it.
Right? Yeah. That's one thing that's really important if you're doing any type of ditching or wetland space or anything like that. If you have cattle, is to make sure you fence it, because cattle will get into that and can drown, even in a 3-foot ditch, because it's muddy on the bottom and they can get stuck in it. So we're going to be running a fence down both sides of the ditch.
There's 11 acres or 11 and a half acres, I think, to the end.
Okay.
But we're not going to include the little marshy spot, so I think it'll be 10 acres.
That's awesome.
Maybe
and
9.
Good hay, because it grows so nice down here.
All right.
Okay. Bye. See you at lunch. All right, friends, that is going to be it for us today. I hope that you enjoyed spending the morning with us. And remember, if you would like to grab one of our Little Mountain Ranch mugs, I'll put a link down in the show notes below and in the pinned comment. Have a fantastic day, everyone. Bye.